Yo, what the fuck's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is a much more different sort of style video, much more different format of video. You know, we're experimenting here. We're seeing what works, what doesn't work, yada, yada, yada. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking a little bit about Xbox. Now, I've made 2 videos on Xbox. First video was about how gaming journalists were capping to unbelievable extremes with regards to saying that Xbox was focusing on becoming multi-platform. The second one centered on our buddy Phil Spencer and how it's apparently Generation Z's fault for its company's shortcomings within this generation of consoles. If you notice, both of these videos don't necessarily paint Xbox in the bestest of lights. You know, simply entertaining the idea that Xbox would even go multi-platform with its exclusives like Halo and Sea of Thieves, like what the gaming journals did, would not have happened if Xbox had been simply kicking its competition's ass. And Phil Spencer, by also being a blockhead by blaming the company's failures on the competition for just simply existing, just proves an entire lack of accountability. It's also pretty cringe. With regards to the Xbox's shortcomings, with regards to the Xbox placing third place behind Sony and Nintendo with quite some distance, a lot of people pin the blame on Mr. Phil Spencer. Or maybe they pin the blame on Xbox emphasizing the Game Pass more so than its consoles at this point. And you know, another belief, a much more valid one in my opinion, is that the reason why Xbox is not doing so hot is because Sony and Nintendo are just making better games, and importantly, really good games that you can only play on their console. Now everyone, you know, they're entitled to their own beliefs. You know, this is Snug Bro TV, we're civil here, we try to be civil, but things like this, a company failing like this, you know, that's more complicated. Things like this don't just happen because of one reason. Things like this are caused out of a snowball effect, years in the making, years being a snowball or whatever the fuck. And this is when I hit you with the name Don Mattrick. After years of working at EA in the fiery pits of hell, Don Mattrick joined Microsoft in 2007 as a senior vice president responsible for overseeing the Xbox 360 and some PC gaming bullshit. His resume at Microsoft was initially marked with playing a huge central role in the development of the Xbox 360 Kinect. And you know, also I guess helping set up quite possibly the weirdest fucking most uncomfortable presentation carried out in front of a group of people.
And once I'm signed in, all I have to do now is just wave one more time. Just like this.
Presumably, Don Mattrick favored expanding the Xbox audience beyond those pesky, raging gamers, as exemplified by slightly shifting the brand's focus into developing an add-on to the console, the Kinect, that, while I guess is kind of slightly cool, something that I just don't think anyone really asked for, except for Don Mattrick. Haha, fuck you, gamers. The Xbox is now for my wife to, I don't know, pet a cat. Now go do your 10 Kinect jumping jacks, gamers. You know, I think the Xbox and Microsoft, they just got way too cocky following the Xbox 360 generation. You know, instead of just refining what they are good at, especially after the initial disaster with regards to the Red Ring of Death, they started catering to people who, you know, let's just say put the word family or recreational in their Xbox 360 profile back in the day. As for me, you know your boy was repping underground. You know that. You know, especially if I hadn't showered in like 12 days. Now, the worst thing to occur through the Don Mattrick regime is the Xbox One launch. But more specifically, the type of shit this dude will be yapping about at the 2013 E3 conference and beyond. Okay, now, this might be a newsflash. I hope it's not. But when you prioritize buying a console, you're prioritizing playing video games. I do not think, and I don't think anyone thought that Don Mattrick understood this in 2013. Because, and there's multiple videos just counting the amount of times he said the word TV. But when presenting the Xbox One, the only fucking thing that was on his goddamn mind was streaming TV. You know, I can watch TV on my laptop. I can watch TV on my fucking TV. I'm not buying the Xbox One to watch Suits with my family. I'm buying it to chirp at random ass people 20 years older than me in Search and Destroy or Roblox Paintball. Don also had the infamous blunder of stating that you need to be connected to the internet in order to use the Xbox One. And when asked about the people that, don't necessarily have a reliable internet connection, he just shrugged them off like an elitist and was like, oh, yeah, you could just, I don't know, buy a 360.
And fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
So considering that Sony were on their A game with the PS4, they straight up stole the show. Xbox were digging themselves in a hole that had no reason to exist, and just by looking at the sales between the Xbox One and the PS4, Xbox for the entire generation for almost like 8 years were in catch-up mode, and this was purely because of how it advertised itself and how instead of focusing on fucking watching TV, Sony was beginning to build a super catalog of good exclusive games. In retrospect, it's hard to understand that one person has the ability to derail an entire project backed by one of the biggest companies in the world, Microsoft. But this is the segment of the gaming industry, where you cannot fuck up. Sort of similar to how gaming companies cannot fuck up with the launch of the games. It's 10 times amplified through a company's console release. They cannot fuck it up. And with the case of the Xbox One, if you fuck up super royally bad, who's to say that you can ever come back to the levels that you once had with the Xbox 360? At the end of the day, brand loyalty can only take you so far, especially if you're an Xbox fan who just wants to play Ghost of Tsushima.